Hello, I am Panos Kotzathanasis, and this is Asian Movie Pulse interviews. Today I'm here with Adolfo Alix. How are you, Adolfo?
I'm fine.
Fine, good to have you here. Okay, you have been talking to me the last few days that you are in the middle of shooting. Can you tell me a bit about this? What are you shooting at the moment?
Well, right now I'm finishing a movie called Pieta. It's a drama, a family drama with the actress also from The Villain, Nora Aunor, and then Gina Alahar and Jacqueline Jose with Alfred Vargas.
Can you tell me a bit about what it's about, or is it too early?
Well, the story is about the mother and son. It's about uh, a prisoner who gets released, and then when he's released, he's trying to find answers for what really happened to him, why he was incarcerated, because he thinks that he's innocent when everything happened when he was still a teenager. Because after 25 years, he was released on pardon, and he was looking for his mother. But now that he is out, when he met his mother is now suffering from Alzheimer and is blind. So he's trying his best to look for answers uh, for the truth through his mother and through his community.
Mm-hmm. And this will be your fifth collaboration with Nora Aunor, if I'm not mistaken. Pieta.
Yes, I did four full length films and one short film with her.
And how did that came to be? How did it happen? And how is your collaboration?
Well, when she came back to the Philippines, I think in 2011, we met a couple of times to discuss some projects that we can do together. Because I've been watching her films when I was young, because her stature as one of the great actors in the Philippines. So I'm a I know her work, so I was very lucky to have met her and discuss some projects, and then after that, we started working on some scripts, and that's how the first collaboration came about.
And how is your collaboration during the shooting? Do you give her many instructions, let's say? Do you allow her to improvise? How does that work?
It's very interesting because even if she's a very good actress, she's still open to understanding her roles, and more than that, she listens to the director's vision and how she can help collaborate with it, which is very important, especially for films like The Villain, where it's very personal, and also it also tackles things about the industry. So I think it's very crucial for the director and the actor to talk about her characterization. And what's good about her, she's very open to it. She doesn't make you feel that she's been in the industry for quite some time, and she's been there, and she knows, she can other actors of her stature can be quite demanding, but she's a very simple actress. She goes to the set, she asks the director, and then we talk about how to do the scene, which is very interesting.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell me a bit about the inspiration behind the villain? How did the idea came for a film like that?
Because for the longest time, Nora Honor has been playing lead characters in all of her films. And I think this is the first time that she'll be playing a villain, but only because she plays a villain in the films that she did as an actress for her character. So I think also it for me as a director, it was interesting to understand, because people tend to stereotype actors, especially if you do a certain type of role like in the Philippines. Some of them would, especially some of the fans would think that they're like that in real life. So it's a matter of trying to break that understanding that actors take on personas, and in real life they can be very different persons. So that was the idea about it. And then of course the pandemic happened. So when that happened, we had to rethink about the script. And I think it was also a good opportunity to discuss the idea of isolation because her career as an actress, the character of Nora, has been there for quite some time. And now that she's trying to reimagine herself as an actress because now in the film there is an offer for her to come back to play a role in a TV series. So it would be very interesting for her given her stature. So we took it as a challenge to include the pandemic because I think it also plays it played the different it brought the film to another situation which helped the character of Nora to bring about her true self.
So the film was shot during the pandemic, or was it later?
Yes, it was shot during the height of the pandemic. We shot it in 2021. In the Philippines during that time, they were very strict because we were still under it's called it's not as a very it's not a very good time for other industries, but for the film industry that time they allowed us, but we had to be very strict and follow certain rules. So we were shooting on a lock-in situation. We stayed in a hotel, all the actors and the crew, and then we just had to go out to certain areas where we had the permits to shoot, and then immediately after that we had to go back to our hotel.
Okay. And how did she feel playing that role, which is radically different than what she usually plays?
We talked about because the era that was being, the era of her being an actress in the film was in the 60s, 50s and 60s. Where in there, there are certain there is a certain expectation when it comes to acting. So we tried to, review like some of the old films. I tried to show her some of the old films from the time. And also that she, and for her to refresh, and also she got to tell me some of the stories because she was the lead in most of her films. So she met a lot of actors playing villains to her. So there was an exchange of ideas like how to treat it, how the acting was because before it was a little stagey. We also remembered like before, like in like Sunset Boulevard, for example, we were discussing the role of Gloria Swanson of playing Norma Desmond during that time. So we had discussions about it, and she was very open into sharing her experiences because being a lead for quite some time, she had very good experiences with how the other actors dealt with her, slapping other actors, and so she went all through all of that. So now that she's taking on that role, there were a lot of inputs when she does that, when she portrayed that actress on screen.
And do you think that she would play again the role of a villain in the future, or?
Yes. She was excited. We were discussing for the next one. Probably it would be a full length role. Her playing really a villain, like something that fits her age. So because she's still very hungry to do out of the box roles, because that's why she was very optimistic when we discussed that maybe after this one we can do like a lot of some more roles that she's not used to.
Okay. And since you mentioned the scene with the slap, can you tell me a bit about that? How did you shoot it? It's the first film of the first of the movie.
Yes. Since it's our tribute to old Filipino films, I also tried to watch, like what I said, like classic Filipino films, and then the actress who played the lead in that particular scene is a very popular actress also in the Philippines. So she was very afraid to slap Nora because she grew up watching her and she admired her work as an actress. So we were behind the scene before we shot the scene, we were talking like how to do it, and she was very afraid, but Nora was very encouraging that as an actor you have to do what you have to do, and just do the scene and she will understand because that's part of the job. So it went out very well. I think we shot it we did 2 takes of it for another shot, and after that they were laughing behind the scene because they were very happy like how it did, because it was, the acting was very different. It was heightened. It felt more like a soap opera, because the movies, like movies from that era, tend to be more theatrical. So the acting was very different, because Nora, I think that's what also challenged her as an actress, because I think her strength as an actress is more of like how she delivered things very minimal. Uh, so now that she's on the other side of the fence, that she has to act, very theatrical with all those reactions, it was very different for her. So I enjoyed doing that scene with them.
How many takes did it took?
The slapping scene was 2 takes, but the entire we shot for half a day for that whole scene, I think.
Mhm.
Or for the whole scene where she came down from the stairs, all very extravagant and very arrogant, and then when she saw all those things, we had to shot for at least half a day for that one scene.
Mhm. And regarding the visual of the retro scenes, how did you manage to give that sense? What did you do to make them appear that they are old movies? Let's say.
Um, well, I talked to my cinematographer, and we both wanted to shoot it, and in the ratio of the Academy ratio, which was the ideal aspect ratio during that time for films like that. And then, of course, like we took inspiration from other films of that time, that how they managed to shoot those scenes. So it was more like we took close-ups, which was very different from the flow of the actual film, because when we leave that particular scene and we follow the life of Anita, the actress, off screen, it becomes very different. It becomes very observing. So the audience becomes unobservant. So for that scene alone, we had to do the scene in such a way that what is expected of that genre during that time.
Mhm, mhm. And
So we did black and white. We did, we added some grains to it in post production, and then the lighting. We also took inspiration from some old Filipino films. So it was like a tribute, going back and giving credit to the earlier films of that genre.
mhm, mhm. And again, in one of the first scenes of the movie where the TV crew come to her apartment to film her, is that kind of a mention to what the ABS-CBN is doing now with the restoration of films? Or
Yes, because in general, the culture of restoration in the Philippines, it is very sad, because we didn't have a formal, we didn't have a formal archive not until like 8 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago. So there were a lot of very good films that were lost because we didn't have a proper archive. So now that they're mostly doing it, especially ABS-CBN, and since the movie deals with an era, you have an actress who's very popular before, but now she struggles because some of the people know her, but other didn't know her. So we wanted to put that scene, where she can talk about an era that was already gone. So I think when the writer and I discussed about it, we thought of a particular scene, where being one of her films, where one of her landmark films is being restored. So that's where she can talk about, her life, how she became an actress, and the difficulties that she had to go through. And interestingly, we borrowed clips from one of Nora's very famous films. It's called Bona. She produced it in the 80s. I think that film was screened in Quinzen in Cannes. So we had to ask permission from her because she was the producer, and we wanted to show an actual clip of her. Aside from the one that we shot, a film where we can show her, in a very intense scene. So we asked permission from her. So it's also, it's a tribute to the films and the efforts of people in restoring classic films like that.
Mhm, mhm. And can you tell me a bit about the casting of the movie? You also have Bembol, Roco, Rosanna Roses in that. How did that came to be?
Because I think it's I think it's proper, to cast actors also of the same caliber as Nora, and at the same time, like what you said, it has to feel very nostalgic. So I tried to to get actors from the, who had very good films in the past, like Bembol Roco, who was in Lino Broca's films also, and Jacqueline Jose also, who played her fan. Was a very interesting scene. So I tried to cast them because aside from the fact that they're very good actors, they're also, very close friends of mine because through the years I've been doing films with them. So it's like a reunion because during that time it was the pandemic, so we seldom see each other. But during the shoot, we had, they came in and we discussed the role. So it was interesting to see like how we work in that situation where we are in a lock-in and we're in, during the height of the pandemic. So it was also an experience for all of us that, we can look back years from now, because there were very few productions who shot a film during the pandemic. But I tried to get them on the basis of, of an idea that these are also very good actors who did very good landmark films from the 80s and from the 70s.
Had Bembol, Roco, and Nora played the couple in the past in another movie? Or
yes. Nora produced a film before, wherein they played a couple. It's called 3 Godless Years, and then I think the last one where they played a couple together was in Brillante Mendoza's Die Wub, if I'm not mistaken. So they have a rapport already. So, and which was very evident because in the film, Nora was an actress and Bembol Roco was a stunt double. That's how they met, and that's how they dated. And then of course, when you watch the film, eventually they had to break up because someone came in.
And are those veteran actors still respected in the Philippines, or are they part of the star system? What is the situation with them now?
Of course, a lot of them are still very much revered in the Philippines. There, a lot of young actors look up to them, and they also get to play very interesting roles, as given the fact that they're very good actors, and of course their history and their body of work should speak for themselves. So some of them still do do television, and they still get very meaty roles in television, like Bembol Roco and Jacqueline Jose still, but Nora tries to manage, in between, like doing movies, and then if there's a role for television that she's very interested in, sometimes she joins the cast, like for some of the series. So I think the respect for them is still there because given the sense of history, a lot of very good Filipino films were done with them by great directors in the past.
And in general, what is your opinion of the Filipino movie industry at the moment?
Well, of course, because of the pandemic, there's been a shift. A lot of productions from 2 or 3 years ago, we're halted because of the pandemic. But now I think it's trying to get back on its feet, as the cinemas are now open, and they're trying to win back the audience to go to the cinemas because of course there's still the threat of the pandemic. But aside from that, in the past 2 years, when the cinemas reopened, there were very encouraging, audiences who wanted to go back to see films. But at the same time, it also opened a lot. It also opened another avenue of distribution, which is streaming. Because during the pandemic, when the cinemas were closed, a lot of the audiences were watching on their phones, and we're watching on other streaming platforms. So that also became an option now for producers and for films, to be streamed immediately after their production. But of course, nothing still beats, like watching a film inside the cinema. So they're trying to win back the audience now with a lot of films are now being made. So which is also very good and encouraging for both the audience and the filmmakers.
And are there plans to open the villain in the Philippines? When is it screening? Do you have something scheduled?
We're planning to screen it this year. Because of the pandemic before, when we finished the film, we had to weigh in, when to release it. But the producers decided to, finally to have a theatrical screening, and then after that, probably to stream it in other, as a second wind after the theatrical run. So we're releasing it this year. We're just finalizing when, because we're trying to understand like the best time for the audience to see it.
And about Pieta, how much time are you shooting? You have more time shooting. When are you finishing with the shooting? And
We're almost finished this week. And then we go to post-production. It will be very interesting because this is a very different Nora also, because here she plays a blind woman, which is another, I think this is the one or two times that she has played a blind person. And so it would also be very interesting to see how she plays this type of role.
And the last question, I guess, beyond Pieta, any other projects that you are going to work on?
Now I'm working on a TV series in the Philippines. We're wrapping up. But soon I'll start shooting, probably in a month. We're still in pre-production. I'm planning to do a horror film. It's a horror film, a family drama about the horror. There's two layers into it: the horror of superstition, and at the same time the horror of what happens when there are secrets in the family. So we're shooting next month. So I'm also very excited to start production in that. It's called Poon. In English it's translated to statues, because in the Philippines, since we're predominantly Catholic, during Holy Week we tend to do processions of very huge images, of saints, and so the family in the film keeps a statue of the apostles, and that's where the story starts and unfolds. When the patriarch dies, so the horror starts happening within the family. So it's also an interesting genre film.
Okay, well, I guess that's it. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Panos, for your time, and also for letting me share some of my insights about my films.
Great, thank you. So this was Asian Movie Pulse interviews from Panos Kotzathanasis and Adolfo Alix. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you.